This is the fourth installment of our four-part series on the Constitutional Convention story, and today is the 4th of July. Well, we're back in Philadelphia. It's now July of 1787. It's Monday, July the 16th, and we are about to begin the vote on the Connecticut Compromise. As I said yesterday, the temperature may have cooled outside, the heat wave was over, but the temperature of the individuals and the temperament of the individuals in that room had not cooled. By this time, there were only 10 states voting. Of course, Rhode Island had boycotted the convention, and then the delegates from New Hampshire had not shown up. And then New York, which was supposed to have 3 delegates, ended up having only 1 delegate, and so they were disqualified from voting because they did not have a quorum. So there were 10 colony/states voting on the Connecticut Compromise, and only 6 nay votes were needed to do away with the compromise completely, and most likely the nation of the United States. The very first state to vote was Massachusetts, and Massachusetts had 4 delegates. The first 2 men rose and said no. The third man rose and said aye. And then the 4th man, who was Caleb Strong, who had been on the trip to Bartram's garden with the 12 other men, rose and he said aye. Understand the significance of this, because by voting aye, he split the Massachusetts vote, and so the Massachusetts vote was disqualified. That meant that there were now 9 states voting, and in order to defeat the Connecticut Compromise, they needed 5 no votes. Well, they had 5 large states, so it was a done deal. There was not going to be a Connecticut Compromise. What then happened is the delegates watched as the next 6 states rose and voted predictably. The 4 small states voted aye in favor of the Connecticut Compromise, and then it was Virginia's turn as the 7th state and the largest of the states in the Union. Virginia rose and voted nay or no. So we were now down to 4 states, 4 small states, with no way of passing the Connecticut Compromise unless one of the large states broke. So Virginia, as the 7th state, in voting no, meant that there were 4 aye votes, and they were all coming from the small states, and 3 no votes, all coming from the large states. But what remained were 3 large states: North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, all of whom, without exception, had voted with Virginia every single time they had taken a vote. It was pretty much a done deal that the Connecticut Compromise was going to fail. Then North Carolina rose. The first delegate was Alexander Martin. Alexander Martin had been on the entourage that went to Bartram's garden, and he voted aye in favor of the Connecticut Compromise and against the large states. Then Hugh Williamson, who had also been on the trip to Bartram's Garden, rose, and he voted aye. Well, there must have been an eerie silence that came across all of the delegates in that room as each and every one of them realized that with North Carolina voting solidly with the small states, the Connecticut Compromise had been reached, and the country known as the United States of America was going to become a reality. All of us know, you who are watching this video and me and everybody else, we all know that we'll never know what really happened. We'll never know what changed Caleb Strong, Alexander Martin, and Hugh Williamson's votes. Because before this, they had voted solidly with the large states and had never veered off that track. But something happened. And maybe it was as they walked through that magnificent garden, where the plants had come from all the 13 colonies that those men in that room now represented and protected and thought about the future for. Well, maybe that walk in that garden on that cool Saturday morning caused them to rethink, made them understand that the plants in that garden only survived because of cooperation. The big, tall, strong plants couldn't survive without the help of the small, delicate plants. And the small, delicate plants could not survive without the coddling and the protection of those large plants. They also saw what incredible diversity there was amongst those 13 colonies, and they also realized the incredible legacy of the rare plant specimens that belonged to this incredible group of 13 colonies. We'll never know what changed them, but what we do know and what we know today is that when 3 men changed their votes and decided to vote with the small states, that what happened was that a group of 13 bitterly profane, quarreling, angry colonies changed and became one nation. And that nation is our home, our nation, the United States of America. The United States of America.